recovers from
Predator's the glass ceiling.
Oh, the wage gap.
That's why he's invisible.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
We were talking so much I didn't bring up Swabutona, which is hello in Swati. It is in Swazi, which is in southern Africa. The Swazi people speak Swati. Oh, it's either Swazi or Swati.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Feel free to tell us in comments or in DMs how to pronounce any of these properly. And I realized I never really said that, even though we have so many languages into the podcast intros now. But here we are. We are finally at a point where we get a break from bad movies. Spoiler warning, we're talking about Prey 2022.
Yeah, spoilers. We'll probably say it again because I do realize we do have a little bit of announcement time.
Announcements.
Because someone did answer to one of our, the tweet.
Twitter.com/pointlessdisco.
Yes. I gotta find it real quick. So I tweeted the thing out on Wednesday because Monday was super busy preparing for Texas, and then Tuesday I helped my brother. No, Tuesday I got emails from work saying, hey, your email doesn't work. No, it was text messages. Everyone was freaking out. It's like, what happened? I'm like, oh, no. Turns out Google's G Suite, that was the legacy program for Workspace. They were like, yeah, we want money. So no more. Pay money now. And then I was looking into it and was like, okay, you guys literally just use this for email. So now I got to go find out an email option for all this garbage. But that's a different thing. So on Wednesday, finally, I was able to tweet out that the movie was the stream was live, not the stream.
Episode.
There we go. To where I wrote "Babies Trump Guns." Do you want to guess which Predator movie this was?
What was it again?
I wrote "Babies Trump Guns."
Babies Trump Guns.
Which
I want to say The Predator because the kid is the main character essentially, but I know that's not the answer. Is it Predator 2?
Yeah, remember?
Oh, yes. Because the Predator is like, you have gun. I must. Oh no, second heartbeat. Put down. Go to hospital. Don't be in movie anymore because you're pregnant now.
I wonder if she got like a better movie deal and went somewhere else. But anyway, I wrote that. And a friend of mine, Golf House, wrote babies, Trumps capitalized, guns capitalized, is the most succinct summary of the GOP platform I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness. Not wrong.
To where I responded, Itisdpayne for 20 whatever with the campaign slogan of "You done worse."
This is a list of everything you've done worse. I won't do those things again. Goody. Fun. And then I think you said before we jumped into the movie, was it pre-podcast you wanted to talk about the body horror topic?
Yeah. So
because I guess this does fit into everything, because The Predator tried to be a real gore fest, but like, I don't know why. And then Prey does a better job of using gore to actually tell a story.
Oh yes, there's some scenes in here that I'm like, yes, this is cool. But so Hop was telling me about some of the books she was reading to prepare for her D&D stuff that she's working on.
I think I mentioned it last week.
You did. I don't think we went into specifics, except for the fact that you said it won't be online because you don't want to, where all my stuff is, because I want to. But I also said I'm trying to rebuild my YouTube channel, and I'm doing Fallout 4. And the picture I'm going to send you is a good example why I should not have why I should not be allowed to have access to mods.
Very Monster Factory. I like the smiley face on is that the female model?
Yeah.
Very happy to be
for
here.
listeners, that should give you a real good example of the question of what these characters look like.
They give me Heat Miser and Snow Miser, where actually they have the right personalities for the two of them too, don't they?
I guess so. I wasn't even thinking about that. The fun thing is, like, if you zoom out, their bodies are switched though. Like the man is like just super round and the woman is just super thin. Like I just randomly clicked on the triangle because I was recording it and I clicked a button on the thing, just like, oh sweet, costumes, and then it crashed the game. And I'm like,
too many mods.
Well, I don't think I had it set up. So
okay.
So yeah. Anyway, that was fun. Yeah, so at some point in the next couple weeks or months or whatever, people might see on my YouTube channel Fallout material.
Yeah, so if you want to find out what I imagine as Heat Miser and Snow Miser brought to life in Fallout 4, then yeah, we'll take a look out for youtube.com/Itisdpayne. Is it just Itisdpayne?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It feels weird saying youtube.com. I was alive when YouTube was created, so don't come after me. I'm old.
I wasn't.
At least we no longer.
I wasn't alive.
You just weren't alive. You just chose not to exist in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
At least we all got past saying www. Yeah,
it took a while.
I
remember when PBS was like www.zoom. Wait, no, PBS.zoom, because there was a TV show called Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Not the meeting site, but the children's science show. That was very fun to watch. Mm-hmm. For a while, I remember my parents used to say http://www. Oh, the days. But yeah, so but again, spoiler warning. As we we'll go ahead and roll our dice to see who gets to talk about the movie arcs. I am kind of happy. I was happy last week thinking I rolled bad enough to not talk about the Predator, but this week I rolled pretty well on my dice app to see if I get to talk about Prey.
Let's see. Now, should I pull out the weighted die so that way I can beat yours?
I will. Oh, it's going to be backwards, I think. No.
Roll
your dice first. I was showing the audience. I was showing that I'm not a liar.
There we go. I'm covering where you are on my screens. That do I? No. Okay. I was confused because the 6 and the 9 are right next to each other.
What kind of dice are you rolling that you're rolling 69?
I didn't even put that together. I rolled a 9.
So in my reflection, you can see Audacity.
Yeah.
It's getting recorded. Yes, I rolled a 17. So is there anything you wanted to mention before we dive in? Because there's a lot. It's interesting to me because when I rewatched the movie, for some reason, when I first watched it, I thought it was a long movie because of the way that it's structured. I was like, oh, this is a full, complete story. This has got to be like 2.5 hours, but it's also just an hour and a half long, like the first movie.
What I'm going to say before we get into it is the last episode. I haven't watched the last episode when we were doing The Predator 2018. I believe at the end of the episode, I was like, here are the things that I think would make a good Predator movie. They do almost everything I say in Prey.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, finish your thought. And then I want to bring up the other thing you had sent me.
Oh, I was just about to bring it. Go ahead. You can share your perspective. But pretty much I really did like this movie. And Hop knows my thoughts on it. Yes. Go ahead, Hop.
And then after watching Prey, D-Payne sent me. So I've seen that guy before on TikTok where he kind of makes fun of how movies are put together. I think I mentioned to him before to you where they were talking about like A24 films where like he pretends to like do drugs and goes, all right, give me a setting. And they're like, I don't know, 1800s. And they're like, all right, give me something supernatural. Witches, supernatural. Anya Taylor-Joy. Come on, keep bringing me ideas. Yeah. Like how chaotic a lot of their movies seem to be.
I was sitting there when he was talking, it's like, that's not how Mad Libs work.
Yeah, but then he presented a version of Predator. And at first I thought he was trying to do Predator like the rest of the series, like all the ones that we watched. So I was prepared for him to come up with a terrible idea. And he had such a cool idea about making it about that essentially it could be the next installment, because I do believe the director.
No, it can't be the next installment, because that's too good of a movie.
You need the pattern of 3 bad movies and then a good Predator movie.
No, it's a decent one, and then oh no, and then one's like, okay, that one is it's okay, and then oh no.
Yeah, but Predator 2 was awful, so then whatever comes after Prey has to be awful, right?
Yeah.
But his
we call that the praise.
But I do believe the director said he would like the opportunity to continue making installments in the series that quote unquote hasn't been seen before. I'm like, yeah, you did Prey. No one's seen a movie that good in the Predator franchise since the 80s.
Well, that theme that he came up with does, because the Prey is supposed to be the first one, like the first.
It is a
ever.
yeah. The first.
I'm trying to
human contact.
What I'm just trying to figure out is the setting for that video. Is that in world history? Is that before or after?
It would be after.
Okay.
Because okay, sorry. So in the TikTok he had sent me, it was basically Predator but center it around samurai. And I believe, well, I know they were samurai as late as the I used to watch a lot of stuff about Japanese history. Are you Googling it now? Because I was about to Google it. But I know samurai were around for a surprisingly longer amount of time than we think of in history. Because the samurai were around when people were actively using like guns and things like that.
Let's see. They started, like, the earliest it was 646 AD. Really feudal, which is in the 900s. Yeah, that, like, let's see, 1776. I'm just 15s, the Meiji era, which is the last of okay, yeah, that it could have worked. It could be between the Tokugawa shogunate and the Edo and the Meiji era. So that would still work for that idea. But I think a lot of people, when they think of samurai films, it's like a lot of it is set in the 1600s.
Yeah, I when I looked up quote unquote Last Samurai, except I keep getting the Tom oh god, what is his last name? Yeah, Tom Cruise movie. But it does say that the last known samurai lived from 1828 to 1877. So yeah, they could find a way to insert it after it chronologically.
Yeah, well, like there's still some time, because like because the Meiji era starts in 1868, and there's still like that's kind of the start of where samurai started coming out of like the political and kind of stuff,
out of the favor of stuff. Yeah,
because that's when this is, I don't know how true this is, a lot of the stuff is coming from like stuff I remember in Rurouni Kenshin, because that was set in the Meiji era. But like one of the big things in there was like, I think it was one of the themes was like, okay, we have these samurais that are just roaming around just because it's right. I think it takes place right after at the end of the Edo era, and the like and there was like all these battles, and then pretty much Rurouni Kenshin at that point was like, he was famous for that, and then now the Meiji era was coming, and it's like, okay, no one's allowed to carry swords and all that stuff except unless you're police or military. And that's like one of the things that keep coming out, where they're asking Kenshin like, hey, why are you carrying the sword? He's like, oh, it's a reverse blade. And I'm like, what an idiot. And then they just walk away. But not like it would work. It would probably be in the Edo era.
It would have to be in that period if they want to keep it chronological. But
yeah, and it would work like kind of historically with all like kind of the wars and stuff happening around that time. But yeah, anyway.
But yeah, that was just a fun TikTok to see like another cool idea for Predator, which is, it's sad to say that 2 Predators and the Predator were all really bad ideas. Like just the core premise was really bad, not including anything else that was bad in the movie. But yes, so.
Oh, but the one thing I thought you were going to bring up was my response to this was the Predator series does not deserve Prey.
It is I didn't really give a lot of the other movies like anything after the first Predator. I didn't really give them anything out of 10 because I was just like, this bar is so low. Like, it's not even, I wouldn't talk about this movie unless I wanted to be mad about something kind of thing. But this movie, I honestly, after my first watch through, I gave it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10.
I gave it an 8. Yeah.
So yeah. So anything else before I start diving into the arcs for us to kind of talk through Prey 2022 parentheses?
I don't know if it will come up, but I'll say right at the start, anyone that brings up the woke comment or anything, aka my mod, and anyone else that thinks that I don't see it. Okay, now anyway.
Yeah, I remember seeing the tweet that was like, why did they make Predator political? And I went, what? what? Anyway, that's not for today because we enjoy this movie. We're not here to get mad about things.
That was the 2 hours before us complaining.
Getting it all out of our system.
Getting it all out and or hey buddy, you awake?
Yes, my sleep last night wasn't great, but I'm here now.
And to wake up to hey.
But yes, so the movie opens. It's also beyond anything, even if you're not a fan of what happened in the movie, the views in the movie are so pretty.
Yes,
the nature shots are so good.
I think I wrote down, where is it? I'll find it as we're going through in here, but it was just like the drone shots, the cinematography is just amazing.
It's very pretty. Yeah, I even when my one watch through with Strider, I was like, are there parts of America that still look like this? Can I be there? I want to see these.
I thought it was in Canada.
Is that where they filmed it?
I thought it was set in Canada.
No, I think it's set in the one card scene, like a very quick card scene where they set the time and place. I think they say it's the Great Plains in 17.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, because I believe the buffalo were an American native. I don't think they're buffalo in Canada, I guess.
Yeah,
is what
I'm just looking it up right now. Let's see if they.
And I thought the Comanche were Plains Indians, not Canadian.
I think I was saying this to Hop before, but it's like my speakers on my Surface is really hard to hear stuff, and so it could have been stuff I just didn't hear
or didn't catch.
Yeah. Great Northern Plains in North America, which would be.
Let me look at images. I guess it could have bled into Canada, but not much of it is in Canada. Let me send you this picture I just saw. Or you probably found the picture. Discord, please. Thank you.
Located west of the Mississippi River and east of the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, I sent you a.
Oh, yep, there it is. Okay.
So, like, maybe parts of it are in Canada, but I think a lot of it is like, in my mind, from what I was seeing for the cinematography, I was imagining like the Dakotas.
Yeah, which would track like Idaho and Montana and stuff. When I was watching this, there's another TV show that I remember watching. I can't 100% say because like it's been a while since I watched. I think it's called Longmire or Longhorn, but it's set in the same place. And it has it's pretty much like this guy who's a sheriff of this small town, and like he has a lot of ties to like Indian tribes as well, because he has to work with some of the people in reservations, and they like really hate anyone that comes over, and rightfully so. And but it's just interesting. Like I like some of the shots, I was like, okay, I could see this like outside like Montana or something like that, or the Dakotas. But no, it is very pretty, and like it's just some of these areas where there's not a lot of life. It's just really, really neat.
Yeah. So my first note, so I said the first arc is kind of you get to meet the main characters, and I think I really liked the way that they set up the main character arc of everything. Sorry, I keep adjusting my light because I'm overthinking video. I really like the intro because it felt almost like watching kind of like an actual documentary on things, because you got glimpses of kind of their day-to-day life, why they live the way that they do, what it is that they do. Because like it opens with her waking up, looking over the plains, and then going to gather, and then also some small dialogue about, this is why we hunt, this is what we do, this is who we are, and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main character, her name is Naru, and she is kind of coming of age, and she is trying to prove herself that she can hunt just as well as any man, but of course with the times, gender roles, everything. They establish very quickly that they're like, no, that's not your role. You're good at so much other stuff. Why do you keep bothering? And she's just like, I can hunt, I can track, I can heal, I'm useful, I'm dexterous, I'm smart. Like she has all these assets to her, and everyone's just like, yeah, stay at home. She's like, stop telling me what to do. And she has her adorable dog, Sorry, who's like pure muscle. Mm-hmm. Like if you ever like, I think I've paused a few times and I was like, that dog is beefy. Yes. Then you also meet Tabe, her brother, who he has kind of filled in as a role of trying to be kind of the voice of reason to Naru, because Naru is very like, I don't know if excited is the word, but she's very anxious to get out there. Like she wants to prove herself, and her brother's like, yes, you have great ideas. I love you for that. You're really good at what you do, but like, be a little like chill out. The guys are not smart. Yes. And I think I can't recall. I think it's her grandmother she lives with, and their dialogue I really like because they kind of set up the tone of the movie without doing the thing that all the other Predator movies that do so bad, where rewatching this, I was like, I love that they don't tell me anything. They and which I know we've had a problem with all of them, where we're like, why does the scientist know so much? They literally looked at a what is it in Predator 2? Like she looked at a disc and went, these are otherworldly beings because none of these composites exist anywhere.
None of the minerals are from Earth.
So she supposed all of this grand stuff, and she goes, but I did see that there's meatpacking plant remnants on it. Isn't that odd? Whereas in this movie, they're just like, they feel like real people, which is so nice. It's so refreshing after watching so many movies where nobody felt like a real person.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to jump in because there's there's a bunch of stuff I have written down in the first beginning part, where it's just my first thing I wrote, haven't seen a Predator in the first few minutes. Good sign.
Checks out. They do a lot of hints.
Yeah, they do show
the ship very early,
but it's just like I like how it's shown to the interpretation of, is it Haru?
Naru, Naru.
And okay, all I heard was Aru the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know if that's her name or not. I'm just gonna keep calling her girl and or sister, the other one brother, that one grandma, and that one dead 1, 2, 3. But I wrote that. My second point was when she's like kind of hunting the deer. I was like, oh, she can apex slide.
Yeah, she apex slides. She does parkour, which it does come into play later. Like, I also like that this movie was very, like, the beginning and the end are really cool mirrors to each other, especially on a rewatch, like knowing how the final fight scene goes and then watching how she fights with the deer and runs with the deer. It's very like, the
other thing I wrote, which I know if you guys ever go back and listen to the Halloween from 2021, like those Halloween episodes, or really anything where I talk about movies, I am a sucker for one shots, and the one shot of her walking through the village, and like there's another scene later, like I don't think it's a one shot, but it's like it is the opposite of her walking into the village, which we can cover later. But it's really neat just seeing her. She comes in and then like there's just life happening as she's going through, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a really good establishing shot of this tribe's like
Yeah, like I said, like the day-to-day life. Yeah, because no one says anything, no one does anything. It just feels
it's just there.
Alive.
Like, it just happens. And it's like, it's not like, oh, look at this person skinning the or tanning the to get leather.
Hide,
and there's this person like carrying cheese or whatever. I don't remember everything in there. I don't even think there's cheese, but it's just everything that was going on in there.
Oh, and speaking of that, I'm just going to put this drop in the hat real quick. It was so nice to see proper representation in the movie, because I believe even if all the actors that played people of the tribe may not, I forget where they're all from, but they're all native. Every person that was an actor of the tribe were of native descent, and nobody felt, like I said, like they all felt like normal people. And versus like Predator 1, like some of the cartel people, you're like, it's a bit of a stereotype. Predator 2 was like just racist. And then the Predators
was a stereotype too.
Predators was kind of like, it wasn't outwardly racist, but there were stereotypes still, like the way that like you said, you're like, why do they make all the Yakuza guys like these really quiet, stoic samurai when that's not necessarily like how they are? And then Danny Trejo being Danny Trejo, like you make money being Danny Trejo, but they also killed him very early.
I will say right now, if I do make the samurai, because I've seen the samurai Predator idea come up a bunch with Prey coming out. I hope they go against stereotype, and I hope they make the master this jovial dude, and then it's just like, no, it's just like, oh, this is why he's like the master.
Yeah. I mean, like, I remember that's why a lot of people like Dragon Ball, because Master Roshi was very much like a
very
cool,
humorous.
Very cool grandpa. And then when it came to Comet, he was like, all right, guys, you made me be serious.
Yeah, I'm gonna all of a sudden get muscles.
But yeah, and then the Predators, like even like that one was just a weird. Everyone in that movie felt fake to me. It didn't feel like real people. But anyway, so yes. So yeah, like you said, the one shots and the establishing shots were all so strong. Like there really was not that much dialogue, which I
liked because I couldn't hear a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but even the first Predator, after the beginning of the movie, there's really not much talking anymore. Yeah. So again, it feels nice to have a movie in the Predator franchise that feels like it's actually doing what the Predator was doing without redoing Predator.
Yeah. One of the notes I wrote in here, which there's something I want to come back to, but I can come back to in a second, was one of the things I really like about showing, one of the things that they've done in all the Predator movies that I can think about was, why is the main character so good? And this one, it doesn't tell you, it shows you. It's like how she's like what you were saying. Like I think you were saying, it was like, yeah, she's good at this and this and this and this, but it's like, no, she's good at this, but it doesn't have her mom or grandmother just be like, oh man, she's a good person because
here's your resume drop.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it shows her able to like track really well and like able to notice things even if people aren't listening to her, and just it's showing her skill set, and that which makes it more believable rather than
it's all like applied to the situation. Like the deer, in the deer shot alone, she saw hooves, she heard the deer, and then she got her dog set up for the plan, and then she ran through the woods. That was like 30 seconds, but she exercised like everything everyone was talking about. And then
she would have gotten a deer if the Thunderbird didn't show up.
Yeah, which is kind of a reoccurring theme. Yes. And then even when her dog gets hurt, she's very calm. She's learning, and she applies medical aid to the dog. Like that's a very short scene, but it establishes her whole skill set very well.
And it also shows like how much that dog trusts her. Like even the mom's like even makes a mention of her grandmother. I don't know if it's her mom or her grandmother, but it's just like she even makes mention of it as well. We're just like, hey, like you're smart, you train that dog. And she's like, oh no, that dog's friendly. He's like, no, it's not. It's like, or no, the dog's smart. And she's like, yeah, that doesn't mean it's gonna listen to anybody.
I think, and then she says something like, not all smart creatures can be trained, or not all smart creatures listen, or something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
along the lines of that. But
which we see another reoccurring theme. And then the grandmother also has a really great point It comes up later, I believe, but she was a very nice little like morality drop here and there without it feeling like a really heavy-handed way of talking about it. But
there's one question though I want to talk about, ask you, because you watched it twice, and so I wasn't sure if I just missaw it. What part of when the dog gets injured, for everybody, the dog steps into a trap, like
a bear trap.
A bear trap. What part of the dog got stuck in the bear trap? Because when I was
tail.
looking, okay, it was the tail. That is a super sensitive bear trap.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't know if the dog was necessarily heavy enough to, maybe the dog pushed off of it, is my imagination. Maybe the dog pushed off of it, and when he pushed, he was walking away and it caught the tail. Because I don't think a dog is heavy enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
Trigger a bear trap.
Hey, all media representations of bear traps is you just drop a stick in there and that thing's going off.
Yeah, but like they kind of show that it's not that sensitive later, because Naru has to like throw a rock at it.
So but yeah, I don't know, that I was like, because I wrote and I was like, did I see that right?
Yeah, it was his tail.
Okay, and I was like, how did that happen? But I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know the exact weight things for bear traps, but I imagine that you would want it to be heavier, because if it caught like a rabbit, you'd be like, oh, that's not what I wanted from the bear trap.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to catch humans in these things.
Humans weigh quite a bit. Anyway, yeah. So then after we kind of get some establishing shots of Naru and kind of her, they do a really good job also of setting up her motivations very early on. So it's a very fleshed out character. And then you find out that someone from the tribe has gone missing. So then they kind of bring together a search party, and Naru is like, all right, I'm joining. And all the guys are like, ew, what are you doing here? Go home.
This is our time.
This is our safe space. Go cook or something. I don't know. Whatever it is you do.
I think I wrote in there for that whole interaction is that no one messes with the heroine. Because I think I don't know, she pretty much just berates them verbally until her brother's like, okay, guys, she's already here. Let's just go.
Yeah, and he has to stick up for her, which is nice to see. But he's like, guys, we all can agree she's good at tracking. And then they doubt her along the way, because the dog discovers some tracking from creature, and they're like, oh, cool, the dog found a pile of poop. And she's like, yeah, and it's important because it's like mountain lion poop. And they're like, what? And they're like,
it's like okie dokie.
It's like, come on, guys.
It's like, well, we now know. It's like, no wonder everyone was complaining about on Twitter. They were in the movie.
They were the guys like, wow, why should we listen to you? It's like, because if you put if 1 + 1 = 2, 2 equals mountain lion.
Listen here, women's, I don't need your witchcraft.
Math? No. But yeah, and then all during this time of her kind of exercising her skills outside of like something close to camp, you find the predator is also arrived and learning. Like I said, he does kind of show up a little early, but even I think what they did was interesting was it only felt early if you already knew what it was, and if you're going into the movie, you already know what the movie's about. But we had someone watching with us when we watched as a group that had not seen the original Predator, and they were just
that sounds
hooked.
So nice.
I know. But they were hooked because they were like, even though there was an early reveal, all things considered, it wasn't really a reveal. It was what is that?
Well, like that's one of the things I wrote that I wanted to come back to, because like while all this is going on, like while it's still daytime, when the hunt happened or to go find the missing person, it's nighttime. In the day, it shows the predator trying, like interacting with wildlife, and like just still like, what is this? And like, what is this? Like, what is this snake? What is this rabbit? There's something else I think that runs around. I know later it's a wolf, but I thought there was another thing, that initial scene.
I don't think there's anything between the snake and the wolf that he observes.
Well, like, I know there's the rabbit and the snake, but I thought there was another thing between the rabbit and the snake. Like, not between, but like in that one scene, I thought there was 3 animals. Oh, no, there's a bug walking on the
Oh, yeah.
On him. But no, I thought that was really interesting where he's just observing. It's like, okay. And like at this point, we watched all the other predators like, okay, not a threat, not a threat. Wait, what is this? And then the snake's like, hey man, I can sense you. Bites him. And he's just like, what the heck? Pretty much. And then kills it.
And it's a really cool establishing thing because like if you know the predator, like people would probably be like, why isn't he chasing like the mouse? Why isn't he killing like the small things? It's like because he stands there and watches long enough to go, predator, prey. What? And then it's also like a cool little thing where he's like, he stands there and watches the snake for a little while, right? Like he's watching the body language, he's watching what's going on. And when the snake is like, there's a threat nearby, the predator is like, I guess this is what I got to do. Ah, yeah, I killed it. Nice.
It's like you only see like the invisible outlines, but I'd like to imagine just like, yay,
I did it.
But it is easy.
And it's also cool because in the beginning he doesn't seem very excited, right? When he gets the kills. But then at the end, but then the cooler parts at the end, he's like, yes. I did it.
It's like as I wrote in here, it was like, this is the most patient predator ever. And then I remembered that no, this is the first time he's ever come down. This alien race has ever been to Earth. So it has no information. It has no understanding of what the
hierarchy is.
What's the best thing to challenge. And so it was interesting seeing it's like, oh, a snake. Oh, okay. What else does this planet have? And I just thought it was interesting seeing him like face like trying to find out what was the best potential rival.
Who's the baddie? But yes. And then after you kind of you get that introduction, then Naru really starts to track like that he's been around because she stumbles upon the leftover bits of the snake. And then she's like, guys, there's something worse out here. We gotta go. And they're like, LOL, mountain lion, peace out. We're taking the guy home. And she's like, all right, if you're taking him home, at least I remember giggling to myself when she was like explaining that this orange plant that she has lowers body temperature to keep you from bleeding out. I was like, oh, that's gonna be used later. That's important.
Yeah, I didn't put that together because I was just like, in my head, I'm like, the second time it comes up, I'm like, oh, nah.
Right.
It's like, I kind of just forgot. Like, I was more like, I was still in awe of like, this movie is actually good.
Yeah, like as a standalone movie, if it wasn't part of the Predator universe, if I just watched this randomly on a day, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I really like this.
There's a different scene. I was like, oh, that's coming in later.
But yes, so then then she goes to warn her brother about it, and her brother is like, we got to deal with the mountain lion. We're already in mountain lion territory. So she suggests setting up a trap, and then the guy bullies her. And get what happens to bullies in this movie, Payne? Tell them.
Bullies get dead. You don't mess with the heroine. That's what I remember. That's why I wrote that part. It was just
he's sitting there. He's like, oh, you're too scared to use a knife. You can't kill a mountain lion. Blah, 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 blah.
And then, wham! Use your knife now, sucker.
Yeah, he immediately gets taken out by the mountain lion that like her brother barely set up the trap for, and the mountain lion's back in the tree. And realistically, if, like you said earlier, if she didn't get distracted again, she probably could have had it.
Oh, she would have wrecked that thing. Also, that was a really strong branch that she was standing on the way out. He has
the both of them, yeah. Her and the mountain lion on it together.
It's like, as I was sitting there, I was like, man, they're really setting her up for failure right now. It's like you have her person that's just like, okay, yeah, I understand you don't like women, like, but, or at least this one, but you know what was really interesting that like I know wasn't really gonna fit with the movie, the like themes and everything, but it never showed Naru's like what the rest of the tribe thought of her. It was mainly just
really her grandmother and then the men.
Yeah, it's like part of me wonders if there's like deleted scenes of like the rest of the tribe, which I guess like at the very end we see a little bit of it, which we can get into, but
yeah. So then Anything else you want to say about this before we move into what I consider the quote unquote next arc?
Yeah, the only thing I wrote was Predator messing up the hunt is a real jerk move.
I know it's the middle of the woods and it's dark and she's about to fight a mountain lion and then he roars in the distance and she's like, what the heck is that? And then slips and bonks her head. And in bonking her head, she finds out that her brother carried her home to be safe so that he could go back out and take care of the mountain lion before he continued to be a threat.
Yeah.
And in waking up is the other morality bomb that the grandmother drops where she's like, you think all of this is about killing. This isn't about killing. We learned this so that we can survive. And I was like, that's why humanity keeps making it out of these terrible situations. It's our drive to survive. And yeah, like a lot of people have been along the way, like instilling like things to her. Like her brother also during the mountain lion scene says like, tell them this is where it ends. This is where it stops. And this is the end of the line for it. And I was like, that's going to come up later.
Yeah,
so then, go ahead.
Like it was just, I guess the thing that I like, even though like at the moment she's just like, she does challenge it, which was like kind of the big chunk of this movie, but it's just it, and she does like it. She is angry, but it's just, it feels like she's not angry at the person, just more of the situation.
She's frustrated with herself.
Yeah.
Which is a very much a coming of age story because she, in her heart, she's like, I can prove myself. I can do it. It's just things have gotten in the way and everyone keeps doubting me.
Oh, yeah. No, that like in all extents and purposes, like as the viewer watching this, except for that person that maybe it was their first time watching it, like she would have killed the mountain lion. Like she definitely would have killed it if the predator wasn't blowing stuff up over in the field over there. Just and like,
then, yeah. And even to her grandmother, she's like, I almost killed the deer with my axe. And she's like, you can't feed people with almost. But again, she heard the Thunderbird.
Yeah. It's like the predator literally is there just like, no.
Oh, you were excited to like finally prove yourself? JK. But yes, so then after she kind of recovers from
Predator's the glass ceiling.
No! The wage gap.
That's why he's invisible.
The wage gap doesn't exist, just like the predator doesn't exist. So yeah, so then she kind of, as she recovers from she got knocked out during the fall because she hit her head on a rock, and as she recovers from it the next morning, everyone's kind of like, all right, come on, help us gather, do your typical role. And she has that really cool panning out shot of her choosing her own fate, where she instead of getting up to do what everybody expects her to do, she's like, I'm gonna hunt it. Nobody believes me. If nobody believes me, I'm just gonna take care of it myself then and prove myself to everybody else. Because they say that.
Okay.
I was gonna say they have a word, but I'm not gonna say the word because I'm not gonna have the proper pronunciation. But basically, they're like, they're coming of age hunting. Yeah.
One of the things that like this, what I was saying is like it is like an opposite of the first shot of showing life. It is like her, like it's very much as the Thanos moment. Fine, I'll do it myself. Which really makes me wonder if she has any friends in this tribe, because no one tries to stop her. They see her leaving.
They already know.
They're
probably, I mean, like they, based on how they show her character a little bit later, I'm going to guess if anyone tried to stop her, they would have thought that she would have just beat their butt.
Yeah.
She's not shy. That's for sure.
It's like, she definitely seems like the person where like when that would be posting like on like TikTok and Twitter later, just like, yeah, growing up, I never actually had any friends that were girls. I was just friends with the guys.
No. Don't say that, because that's a negative stereotype. The whole, I'm not like other girls. I'm only friends with guys. Yeah, it's technically a negative stereotype. But I just mean that she is very rough and tumble. So I think if anyone tried to tell her to stop, she would not listen anyway. And I'm sure the tribe already knows that. But let me think. Oh, yes. So then we embark on her kind of building up her skill set, which, like you said, there's a lot of character growth in a very short amount of time, but it doesn't feel rushed. Because they have the scenes where she's trying to hunt rabbit and she's struggling with it. And then they have they show her modifying her axe to be more of what she needs. And then they show that she's killed like 4 rabbits and has like a feast for herself around the fire, jokes with her dog, like, oh, you have to cook next time. And the dog is just happy to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then while this is happening, then you have the predator. And like you said, the wolf scene comes up, I think, around this time, where he's sitting and watching the wolf chase the rabbit. And the wolf is like, I smell something. I'm going to growl at it because I don't like it. And then they have like a samurai standoff.
Yeah. This is the what I wrote was pretty. There wasn't like a lot of stuff that this is the only thing I wrote about this scene, because like, not that there was anything bad about it, but the thing that stuck out to me is the girl is way more effective at tracking the predator than the government ever was.
Oh my god. What did they said they had scent molecules in Predator 2.
Yeah,
and then
she had a stick. She measured out the footprints of the stick.
Yeah. And then she just got traces of like peculiar things around the way. But yeah, so along with them kind of honing their skills ultimately for the end of the movie, you also have hints of another negative force in the woods. Because Naru stumbles upon, in her eyes, which is like, I really liked the body gore here because it really makes sense to really set the tone of the shot without it being overly excessive. But she goes and she sees all these skinned buffalo, and you see her reaction. She's just like, I'm so sorry that this happened. This nature shouldn't be treated like this. And she says like a goodbye prayer to them and is trying to be nice. And then she discovers the cigar near them. And then I think while she's looking at the cigar, you also see that there's bullet holes through their head. So it really establishes kind of like another layer of tech.
Oh, I didn't even see the bullet holes. I was more trying to figure out what she picked up. I was like,
at first we were like, is that a bullet or whatever? But then you realize it's a cigar. And then the predator comes up not too far later to also see the same thing. And he's also confused. He's picking up the cigar, he's examining the bodies, and he's very confused about what's going on. Well, and I think that's when the predator is like, oh, there's something else.
Yes. Well, like it shows that her footprint, like it shows the predator following her steps.
Oh, right.
Because she's like looking in the mud and all that stuff. And then and then the predator, I think, sees the different footprints and then follows, and that's why it goes there, and then sees the flower offering she left, and then is following her, which I think that brings us to one of the like, I think, coolest predator reveals ever.
Yes. And I forgot to bring this up to you to try and guess what Strider's favorite scene is, but I'm sure like
is it the scene that's coming up next? Yes. Which I think I wrote the best reveal ever.
It's so good. But did the mud thing happen? The mud thing already happened at this point. So I just want to write because the mud thing happened.
The mud thing happens right before Bear.
Yeah, so I also want to just bring a point to the mud scene because that one's really important in establishing the differences between them. They do a lot to establish a lot of the strengths of the predator, but the mud scene in particular, where they show her having to use ingenuity to find a way out of basically a death situation where she finds herself in a mud pit that's acting like quicksand, and she has to like use her axe that has the rope on it and try and get it just right to make it out because she doesn't have the bodily strength to get out. Let's pin that for later. But yes, and then Naru is, preparing to hunt, and she hears something, and it's what they've been hinting at the entire movie, where in the whole beginning half of the movie, they're like, I don't care as long as we don't run into a bear. I think you bring this up too, that everyone's saying the bear is the biggest, baddest thing in the forest. As long as we don't have to fight a bear, we're fine. She looks down in the river and she's like, that's a bear.
And she's like, crap. But yeah, but I wanted to, the only thing that I thought that mud scene was really, the mud pit was really interesting. But like the whole reason she goes in there is because Dog gets like the scent of the bear and starts freaking out a little bit and runs over there, and that's when she falls into this pit. And then when they get out and the dog comes back, I was like, oh, thank goodness they didn't never ending story the dog.
I know. I kept the whole time. I was like, "Is this a death flag for the dog? This dog's not gonna make it. Oh god, what's gonna happen to the dog?"
And I was just sitting there. I was like, "Man, this dog was cool and unnerved."
Yeah, because never ending story. It's the horse, right?
Yes.
Where he's like, get out, please just get out. That's the only scene that I specifically remember of Neverending Story. And it's why I'll never rewatch it because I'm not prepared to cry again like the way I did when I was a child. But yes. So then Naru runs into a bear and she is very much overpowered by the bear, right? They're really establishing that the bear is very fast. The bear, like the dog is doing his best just to distract the bear long enough.
Dog's got zoomies.
I know. I was like, this dog is gonna die to a bear. I don't want to watch the dog die to a bear. But then like the dog is really doing what it can as a companion to like draw the bear out and away so she has time to like string a bow, set herself up, and everything like that. And then basically when Naru realizes what's happening, she swims into a beaver dam. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, wait, the bear isn't looking for me anymore. What's happening?
Well, the bear at the start is like going at her, like is ruining the dam. And then just like, I'm not dead.
It's quiet. And then she like peeks through, which is also a really cool shot of just like peeking through branches of the beaver dam. And he's invisible. And the bear is just like, what is that?
Yeah. Before we get into one of the coolest scenes ever, there was something I was wondering because in the later installments of the Predator, it seems like the cloaking technology stops working when it hits water. This is the second time he steps into water and the cloaking technology is like, now we still work.
Yeah. And there were some like yeah, I was curious about that as well.
To where I wrote proof that the Predators got worse over time.
They forgot how to use their technology, remember? Yeah, that's why they had to abduct McKenna.
Yeah, and that's why they were trying to steal everyone else's DNA or whatever it was.
Yeah, but yes.
But yes. Oh man.
Do you want to talk about this?
Sure, it's so cool. Because pretty much it's like for what 5 minutes this bear is just wrecking shop and it's this force of
you see the green blood, you see red blood, there's blood everywhere.
Like I was talking even before we get to that part.
Okay.
Like and I guess just a little bit of background before we get there is that all the animals up to this point have hurt the Predator. Like they have all drew blood, which is something I like because it's like, no, the Predator can't be hurt. Like the snake draws blood, the wolf bites the Predator, and you can see like the green blood on its teeth, which I'm like, that's a cool detail that they didn't need to do, but it's there. And then it's like, but like we really haven't seen like, okay, the Predator's good at tracking and is fast enough to like hunt a wolf, but then it's just like, okay, like if you haven't seen this movie, like I really want to know what that person that has no clue what the Predator is, what their response to this was. But yeah, it's like Naru is running away from this bear the whole time. No way she could fight it, and then just this invisible force pops down and it's just like just fist like punching this bear and just WWE wrestling it pretty much, just turning around, it's biting blood everywhere. And then it just lifts it up like Quasimodo at the end, just like and then rips it open, and it's just like, no, we're not showing it. You're not getting a clear shot of it, but you get a sneak outline, peek as like the blood is just pouring down, and it's just like I just sat there, I'm like, that was awesome.
And like it was interesting that I had that reveal before watching The Predator, and I was just like, the Predator from 2018 really lost the good shot because Prey. Oh my goodness.
I know. It's like, and the neat thing is, it's like the blood doesn't go off because it's like the Predator sees Naru and she's running away, and you just see in the background this bloody outline just like slowly watching and slowly moving its way towards you, and it's just like, oh my gosh,
she had a very natural reaction where she was like, I was gonna die to a bear, but something killed a bear. I can't. I'm
gonna die to that.
I'd rather swim down waterfalls.
Yes.
Than be anywhere near that.
Oh man. So I do have to ask the person that has that this is their first Predator movie, what was their thoughts on that scene?
So the person we watched it with was Lux, and you know that she's a very talkative person. She did not really talk during this movie, which is how you know it's a good movie, because she was just like, she was part of the thrill and part of the mystery. Like there were some parts where when it was quiet, she was like, so why does the predator not attack her? And Starter was like, give it like a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Give it like a half hour. They'll explain it because it's a prequel.
Yes.
They're not assuming anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but no. And then I just really like how it illustrated it like they gave a lot of character to the predator, its strength, its excitement of overcoming something strong. Like he was like, I finally fought something and I killed it. And it feels so good because he didn't really make the wolf out to be a trophy. He he collected the skull,
yeah.
But he didn't really do the like, look at me, mom, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did with the bear.
He didn't do the Predator 2 standing on the skyscraper holding a skull, just like, yeah.
And then the snake, he didn't even keep the trophy. He left it in a tree as well.
The thing that's really interesting about this whole movie, and what I think will be interesting with later installments of when did they start hanging the corpses in the trees?
I don't know. They did it in the first Predator.
Yes, in the first Predator, but if I remember correctly, none of the humans were hung in the tree or hung in trees at that point.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember when that became part of like the thing because Predator 2, they hung them from ceilings or whatever in the building.
Yeah, like well, they did it in Predator 1, and then that was like to kind of set
the Green Beret. Yeah.
Well, like just to set the like uneasiness, tenseness of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just like, well, that's just what Predator does. And it's like, well, this one doesn't do it. Why?
Yeah. So yeah, it would be interesting for them to start growing that into the lore. But yeah, and then so Naru gets away, and when Naru is trying to like I think she says she wants to go back to the tribe to warn them or go to her brother and warn him that she's seen the thing.
Yeah.
Then the search party shows up and they're like, all right, we're bringing you home. And then, like I said earlier, Naru gets into fistfights with them, saying, "You can't drag me back. I need to talk to my brother. I need to like coordinate with him. Yes. I need to meet up with him." And they're like, "LOL, whatever. Just go back to home because nobody wants you out here." And she literally bites his arm.
Yes. Well, like, and not just that. It's just she could take them all out in a 1v1 battle. Like the only way like they get the little bit of the upper hand is they cheat.
Push her. Yeah, they cheat. And the thing that I think is really interesting with this scene is they're all trained to fight and hunt together. So they all know each other's fighting style. So it looks like she could win the 1v1s, but it was close, right? She actually got hit. And then I'll talk about a later scene where she really shows off how well that she's trained, but we'll get to that.
One thing I did want to say about this is like all the stuff where it shows that she's intelligent and using her brain and like how to hunt alone pretty much is like they're all like, why does your ex need a leash? And they're just bullying her. Yeah, they're just like, what is this? Well, like
your axe gonna run away.
Yeah, and she's like, give it to me, I'll show you why.
She's so cool. And then like we said, I'll repeat, Dpayne, what happens to people that bully Naru?
Plot armor. Everyone dies. Don't bully the heroine.
Yeah, but they've tied her up so she doesn't have a weapon on her. And then the predator shows up and sees is kind of observing them, and kind of like the homage to the older movie where they kind of generally have unease in the woods. They start to raise their weapons and go, what is it? And then they shoot the possum and they go, oh, haha, it's a possum.
And she's like, no.
And then she's also like, it is daytime.
Yes.
Why do you think they were awake and running around? They're like, I don't know, because they're dumb. She's like, yeah. Just think for 2 seconds, please, God.
Yeah. And then we get the first historical recording of a laser light.
Yes. So then you get the arrow scene, you get introduced to some of his tech. And this scene, I just really liked that they showed off that he kind of looks like a predator, but older, because he has more of a skull-based helmet versus like a high-tech helmet.
Oh man, I really, really like the armor in this one. It was cool. I also like how like flimsy the armor is compared to like the later more bulky metal stuff that they have. Like this one is just like a face plate with tech.
Yeah. I still think the worst version of armor in all the franchise is the Predator. His exoskeleton is his armor. I was like, how did you see that? What are you looking at? What is happening?
I read the script.
But yeah, so then you have all this combat happen, and then you have the next arc where you finally get to meet the mystery of the woods, right? The other thing, because in the beginning we were, I know when I was watching it with a group of people, we were like bear traps, and then we were like, bear traps. When it got to this point of the movie.
Yeah. Well, do you want to? I'll just read what my one, like, because I figured there was something else in the woods as like the more traps were showing up, and I'll just read what I wrote here was like, well, I wasn't expecting the French.
Nobody expects the French Canadian fur trappers.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so then you meet the other force that's in the woods, wherein while Naru is running away from the Predator and all that, she runs in, or she gets kidnapped by French Canadians because they're like, oh, a lady in the woods. And I'm like, oh, gross, please don't let anything bad happen to her. They keep implying that they're going to do bad things to her, but they don't act. Thankfully, not on film. They haven't done anything. But yes, so when this scene came up, I remembered that I did not learn anything from high school French.
Oh, I never took French, but I did like how everybody talked in French. Like it wasn't just like, oh, well, we need to know what they're saying. It's like everything was implied with how the actor, like everyone that was acting in this was really good, because like I didn't have subtitles up, so I don't know what they were saying.
The subtitles don't translate it, because I think what they wanted to do for the film, like you said, is make it so that it really was that whole wall of text where neither party understood each other. And even as a viewer, if you didn't understand French, you were in the same boat as Naru, where you're just like, what are they doing? They're mad. They're angry.
But at their body language and everything, you knew what they were saying.
Yeah, it was still delivering the message that needed to be delivered.
Yeah,
and
like,
then you have
a woman.
And then you have the stupid translator. But anyway,
it's just like, wait a second. I was like, how convenient, someone is able to communicate. And I was like, okay. It's like, I think it was at this point when I'm like, oh no, what year did they say this was?
But yeah, then you find out while Naru's kidnapped, you see that they've also gotten her dog, and then they've also gotten Tabe, and that they start to torture Tabe to force her to like not be, feisty. And she's just like, you guys don't realize you're just turning the gears. She's just getting more and more mad. You won't like her when she's mad. And then they the French decide to try and set up traps of themselves by using Naru and Tabe as bait. So you get like the jump back and forth with their dialogue of like, what do we do? How do we get out of this? And, they've resolved that they might, or Tabe is like, I guess we die here. I'm so sorry for being mean to you. Your trap was good. You would have killed the mountain lion. Like, he was like, I know I was mad at you and I took credit, but I just needed you to calm down, like that kind of conversation. And then the French are like, haha, we're gonna get the Predator. We have our trap. We've burnt this whole forest. There's soot everywhere. He can't see so well. And then they turn around and go, our friends are dead.
Yeah. But in French.
but in French. But I did like the way that the scene evolved, where like as a viewer, you're like, oh, the French already lost. Not quite. They are trappers, and they kept setting up traps. But yeah, so Naru and Tabe are trying to figure out how to escape, because they're like, the Predator's here. Oh God, we see him. Oh God, this is how we die. Yeah. And then she's also slowly reasoning out. She's like, I like how they did it from her perspective, where she's like, I guess he doesn't see me as much of a threat. I'm just a little girl, like everyone says I am.
Well, yeah, because at the part like before that, she's in the trap. Like that's how the French find her, and the Predator's just like, oh, never mind. The bear was
like
better.
what? Yeah, because like he sees her in the trap, and then he also doesn't attack her when attacking the rest of the people from their tribe, because she didn't have a weapon because her hands were tied. But she sees it as like, I guess I'm not enough of a threat to him to even consider being someone to fight. And it's like, I see, like, it's cool to see it from her perspective, because as Predator watchers, we know why he didn't attack her, but she sees it in a different light.
And she's like, I'm gonna make you regret that.
Yeah. And then the French have their cool fight scene where the Predator is just walking through the woods going, all right, I guess I'm gonna check out what's happening here. And then he steps in the bear trap, and then they like jump out from their pits like, haha, we're French.
I was like, wow, there's a lot more French dudes than I thought there were.
Yeah. And then they oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is you got to meet the guy who had the cigar. He's the main sleazy, gross guy. But yeah, so then the French are like trying to fight him off, and it's a very cool sequence of tech. I think you mentioned earlier, maybe it might not have been in the recording.
Yeah,
but like
this is before we recorded. Yeah,
the net you said you've seen in other Predator movies.
Well, it's the one we're watching next.
AVP.
Yes, we'll share a little bit more of what's happening with AVP at the end. So but yes, the net, and I believe the like little drone bomb things that he drops are both from AVP.
I really liked the part where he threw that little metal piece to break the bear trap to get himself out. Yeah, but it was just a very cool fight sequence, and they even snuck in a little drop of comedy, like the right amount of comedy.
Oh yeah, it felt like I don't know, it's just like the whole movie was serious, and then it's just like, okay, the French, they're like bumbling idiots pretty much.
No.
They're not okay. They are in. It shows that, like, that's the neat thing that I really like about this movie is that it shows that the people that are there are highly trained in their areas. Like,
yeah, just
we might not like the people, but it's just like, no, these guys are trappers and hunters, like, and it's showing them
skill
like
sets.
Yeah. I do have to say, I don't think the shield is in any other. I think that is
unique.
Yeah, to this. I could be wrong because I never watched AVP 2. But I thought that was really cool. Like,
it's very cool.
I like the shield idea where it's just like, and it shows like, oh no, these bullets can really kill me if I'm gonna get shot here. But then it's not just a shield. It's like, it's
also a weapon. Yeah, but I like the little drop of comedy where he turns around and he sees 3 Frenchmen and they're looking at him and they're like, I gotta load my gun now. And then the Predator's like,
yeah,
okay.
And then kills him.
But it also shows that he's willing, like, he's not killing to kill. Like, he's trying to, like, he's learning. Yeah, he's learning, and he's like, are you gonna fight me? And they're like, I'm trying.
One sec.
But yeah, and then I also appreciated that the Predator also seems to be able to understand his losses. Like, at this point, he is injured. There's the bear trap, he's gotten shot, and all this other stuff. So then he looks like he runs away, and the French are like, nice, what is that? Because they also show the scene of him messing with his gauntlet. And then it's like what you said, the little disc things. And then all while this, Naru was able to get Tabe and her out of the trap because she tells this really fun story about a beaver who's like, I'm gonna die, so I'm gonna chew my leg off. And Tabe's like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
It's like, no.
And she takes the bear trap and just hangs the rope tying them together and then throws the rock down to set off
I'm
the
smarter
trap.
than a beaver.
And her brother's like, okay.
Oh, like I thought she was actually going to take her hand off for a second because I was reading through a book series and there's a character that pretty much has to have their hand taken off. And so that's still like fresh in my mind. And I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay.
Phew.
I wasn't ready to go watch a hand get cut off.
Yeah, because they were not shy about gore, but they did it in a way that like actually progresses the story and not for gore's sake.
Yeah. Character-wise and situation-wise, it made sense.
And then Tabe's like, I'm gonna go get a horse, and then Naru's like, all right, I'm gonna go get the dog. And then the guys left at camp are like, we got to make a break for it, we got to leave, we got to take what we can because everybody's dying. And while Naru is at the camp, she runs into the translator again, and from the shrapnel or whatever from the disc, his foot's been cut off. And he's desperate, right? He's like, please, for the love of God, help me. I'll teach you how to use a gun.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right. But I love that she's like cold to him because she's like, why would I be nice to you? You're a jerk. You're part of the group.
I do like how there wasn't an immediate character switch of just like, okay,
I trust you now.
I trust you now. It was just as soon as it got dangerous and she finished her job. She's like, peace, loser.
Yeah, and she's not even gentle with taking care of them. Like she's a very caregiver type person because she loves and cares for people that she trusts. But this random guy, she's like cleaning up his wound. He's like, ow, that hurts. She's like, okay. And then he's like, what is this? Should I eat this? And she just shoves it in his face. Shoves it in his mouth.
And then she's like, it's like, I'm cold. It was that part. I was like, oh, right. Well, I know predator. What that is. It's just like, because like, and then it immediately went back and she's like, oh yeah, it's gonna make them cold and like that way it slows the blood. And I'm like, and then it was that point like, oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but that I really like that scene where he's walking around and he's like using his heat vision. He's like, there's a blood trail, but I don't see where the blood leads to because it's cold here. The body should be completely dead if there's a blood trail.
Yeah.
And then while I was a little thrown off at him. I think it was a jump scare for the predator, which is funny to imagine.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh my gosh. Then shoots him.
He steps on the dead body and the guy screams. He's like, oh.
Yeah. And he's just
technically killed an unarmed guy, but he was just fighting with him and all that. But it was just
well, like I can understand where it's just like this invisible force all of a sudden jump out at me, and it's just like he's just like, oh.
Reaction time. But yes, and then Naru is doing her best to kind of hide and figure out what's going on, and then
brother comes back with a
really good fight scene.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I was like, man, if this movie could have ended here
and you would have been happy. Yeah.
It's like, dude, he almost like cut the predator in half.
I know. He gets the spear like almost all the way through him.
So yeah, it's one of the things where like I don't know because I haven't read a lot of the complaints, but it's just like one of the things like how was she able to face Predator, which we're gonna get into how she faces Predator, a bunch of naysayers.
Soon. We're getting there.
But it's just I do think one thing that it really isn't a focus on the Predator movies, but I do think it's something that could be seen as like you take that much damage in one day. It's just like, okay, he just got through a huge fight with like the French people.
And then
like,
he healed himself,
and then almost gets shish kebab multiple times by one dude. Well, two, like which there's a very important thing in here where it shows how much she's paying attention to. Like, yeah, she's like, wait, he can't see because of the plant that you take. But then also that's when she realizes that the arrows have homing.
Yeah, the helmet.
Because the helmet, what's his name? Her brother knocks off the helmet.
Tabe, yeah.
Yeah. And then she's just like, he keeps shooting the arrows at her brother. And she's like, because the arrows are hitting the tree. Like, no.
Yeah, but they do a very good job at making this a tense movie. Like, I think another note I wrote for myself is one of the things that I really appreciated about this movie is everything felt high stakes. Like everything felt like it mattered in the movie. Unlike the other movies where they're like, what was this fight scene for? They were going to shoot a grenade into an alien dog and then it's over.
No, the dog still came back.
No. They had the lobotomized dog and then they had the grenaded dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. There's another win. There was no alien dogs in this movie. That's another sign. If there's an alien dog, man, don't trust it.
Don't trust it. The alien dog in Predators were much cooler than the alien dogs in the Predator. But yes, so then
brother dies.
Yes, brother doesn't make it, but brother goes down fighting. He I did appreciate that Naru literally just learned how to use a gun and then couldn't figure out how to use it properly. It makes so much sense because she's like in the heat of the moment and she's like, the guy said powder, but not too much powder, but some powder. That like his instructions weren't even good.
Yeah, and well, like I also imagine it's like, how do you explain while your leg is chopped off, being worked on, and like all that pain to like. How would she know what like gunpowder, tamping, bullet, all that stuff? It's just like
it was very complicated. Yeah.
And so like, does she even get the gun to work?
I don't recall her actually.
I don't think the gun.
Oh, no. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I think at the end.
Soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then but she's at least able to distract the predator enough to like help her brother through the fight. And then when she's holding the gun, the predator is like, oh, she has a weapon now. she hasn't had a weapon before and starts approaching her, and then her brother with his final act is like stabby.
Yeah, off the tree, boom, so much.
Yeah.
Oh man, like I think I realized the predator blood, even though it was just like how they didn't want it to be bright green originally, and then how it's like, oh man, I think just
it's also
seeing
a nice little homage that the flowers are bright orange. When they said if you look at like fun facts about the original movie, they wanted the blood to be orange, but at the time they couldn't get the color to pop well enough on film.
Yeah. And now we just have better technology.
We have it. We did it.
It's like I think I liked just how, because like I feel like in Predators and the Predator, they were just, it felt like we need these predators to look like pretty much walking tanks. And it's like, no, they're not. Like, and so in this one, the fact that it's just like you see like alien predator blood all over the place, and it's just like, I don't know. I think it's interesting seeing like, no, these guys aren't made to be invincible, because like if they were, they wouldn't have med kits
or hunting ground things to test themselves. And it is nice to see it in a way of like, because for the characters in the movie and also as the viewer, because it gets hurt constantly throughout it, it gives them all the hope, like like the old Arnold line, if it bleeds we can kill it. Like,
they say it in this movie.
They do say it in this movie, but again, it's, if you haven't watched the first Predator, it just sounds like, oh wow, you're right, it is vulnerable.
And Lux is like, oh. And we're like, no. Nice. It's like, all right, yeah, you got your Arnold line.
Yeah, you got your line in. But yeah, so then after we have the really cool fight with Tabe, then we have Naru kind of reflecting on, at this point, she's had a lot of loss in the family, right? As far as we know, at least her father's passed. I can't remember if her mother's passed like at the same time, but now her only other person that supported her and believed in her has now passed and went down fighting for her. But in his last dying breath, he does the really sad thing. He's like, this is the end for me. I can no longer go on. This is where I end. You bring home the head of the beast. You go. Oh, and also I did like earlier, he was like, this is what you chose for your coming of age thing. This is because like everybody else is like, oh, I'll go after like a mountain lion. And he's like, this is what you decided.
It's like, I don't know. I don't think she was expecting all this.
Yeah, he was like, this is the thing in the woods that you were telling us about.
It's like, what's wrong with you? That's it. I'm leaving.
Yeah, but then she has her reflective moment when she's trying to clean up after herself, and it's very vulnerable, right? She's crying, she's sad, and she feels like she's not sure how to go on. And then she sees the one Frenchman and she's like, oh, you don't like me when I'm angry. I don't remember when she stole the tech, but she has one piece of the Predator's tech, which is the thing that he used to break through the bear trap. The little metal grabby thing.
I think she picks it up in the battle with all the French people.
Okay, yeah. So then
because he throws it and then it's just there and like
laying on the ground. Yeah.
They kind of she's chasing after it pretty much, and I think she picks it up during that battle.
Yeah, but then she is like really smart about it, where she knocks out the Frenchman, cuts off his leg. And then and she has this giant fire going, so of course there's a big heat source in the middle of the night where it's cold up in that region, so there's not the predator is going to find them. And then the Frenchman wakes up and he's like freaking out, and again, like I said, the bodyguard is very much storytelling tool.
Well, this is the same Frenchman that was like messing with her in the cage.
Yeah, this is the one with the cigar, the leader,
I couldn't remember if you mentioned that or not. I was reading my notes.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so then he's laying there screaming, and she has this really cool monologue where she's like, you made my brother bleed, and I'm making you bleed, and you might not realize it, but I'm going to get you killed. And the predator won't realize that I'm going to get you killed. And then he picks up the gun, which she unloaded, and she eats the flower. And the thing that just surprised me is that everyone else who ate the flower like freaked out. So I don't know if she's taken it before or if she's mentally aware of what's going to happen to her body.
She just takes it on the reg. She's like, this is good.
But yeah, so then the predator walks up and walks right past her because it doesn't see her, and the Frenchman is like,
yeah. Well,
freaking out.
I think the other fun thing about this is she's like kind of monologuing at this French person. She's like, he has no clue what you're saying. It's just like she's just yelling at him, and he's just like, okay.
And he's just screaming because he's in pain and he's scared, and he's like, "You." I forget. Oh, the line that they have the French keep saying is "idiot savage." Mm-hmm. I'm like, stinky people, stinky trappers.
Yeah. Well, apparently those dudes did, like, historically, like, they did smell really bad.
Beavers have a particular scent, from what I understand, and a lot of their money is from beaver pelts. So I kind of 1 and 1. But yes, so then she continued, and in a way, it's her continuing her observation. She's like, from what I can tell, the flowers work. So let me see how well they work. And all of that, and she's watching, and then she does get the gun to work, because this is the scene where she jumps down, shoots him through the head, takes his helmet, and just leaves. And the Predator's like, "What is that?"
He's just like, "What the dump?
Where did I come from?"
And like, even before this, it does show that she's setting stuff up. Like, slowly, yeah. Which I wrote the lines like, "I am enjoying how smart she is." Like, I know
the whole time.
Yeah, like I understand this whole movie is showing that she has intelligence and everything, but it's like
it's very impressive.
At this part, she like puts it all together of like, okay, this and this.
Yeah, it's a very good payoff, because you kind of see her do these things throughout the movie, and now she's bringing all these skills into one place. Like, you see her setting up the trees, you see her setting up the helmet, you see all that, and then the Predator is like, does end up finding her, and then they start their 1v1, and like. I don't know which one is my favorite trap, but I think I really liked watching her do parkour and the Predator like get cut up on the extra branches that she set up against one of the trees that she parkoured off of.
Yes.
And I was like, how did she think that far?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think if we even see if she even sees the Predator jumping off the trees at that point.
Yeah, I forget. Right now, I'm blanking on like the little bit of time between.
I'm wondering if she saw evidence of it jumping off trees, because like it shows that she's picking up a lot of the stuff of like.
Oh, there were some points where they focused in on some of the trees having like marks on them. Yeah, so maybe she did connect it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll admit, when I first saw the where she put the helmet and like the way it was all set up, I thought there was going to be a different kind of trap where his vision wasn't going to be able to see spikes coming out of the tree, and he was just going to try to get it and then kind of shish kebab himself on it, because
he does get himself stuck in a tree at one point, to which she takes great advantage of that.
Yes, it's I don't know, it's one of those things where you just see like all these things she learned, and like every frustration where it's just like she learns this, but setback. She learns this. The idiots from her tribe are there. Oh, she learned this. Oh, wait, there's an idiots from a literal another part of the world are there. And then it's just like all the idiots are gone. And now it's just like, okay, this is everything I learned. And the Predator is like, he's tired. Like, because I don't think he was expecting to fight all this in one day.
Yeah. And he didn't really get healing time, much healing. Well, he healed a bit, but
he does heal. Like there is a couple hours where like
between Tabe and the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But because she does set things up. But I think one important thing, because you said put a pin in this, is the mud comes back.
The mud. But before the mud stuff, I really appreciated that the way that she interacts with the Predator tech makes more sense to me, where she can't just use it like in every other movie, because like she has his spear at one point that she steals from him, and she tries to throw it at him, but he like stops it. Yeah. I'm like, of course, because they've been whooshing things all over the place. Of course, he still has mind control over it. So then she has to use it more as a club rather than a throwing device to try and beat him up with it. I said the only disappointing thing about this movie is they didn't allow it to be in theaters, because the scene where there's the rock and the shield coming closer to her neck, I was like, that would have been really cool in theaters to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh man, I'm trying to remember how she gets. Oh yeah, she stabs him, doesn't she? She does.
Yeah, she rips off his mandible and stabs him with his own mandible in his face.
It's just like, dude, like even if this Predator won and went back, it's just like
he'd be so scared of people.
Well, like he'd be like, if he won and never come back, it's just like Well, no, because I guess the whole thing was just they probably send more predators. I'm thinking about it because it's just like, no, this is the toughest thing I've ever fought. It ripped my jaw off.
It ripped my jaw and re-stabbed me in the face with it. Who does that?
Yeah, and so it's like I guess there would have been more predator things, but I don't know. It's one of those things that's tough because it's like, would they keep sending people? Because it's like, well, no, we killed everything. It's what there's no point in going there. But the fact that it died is like
is a more of a excitement for the predator. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah,
we found something. So then they, like you said, they have the call back to the mud in the beginning. And to me, the thing that I thought was coolest was, yeah, she tricks it to go into the mud, but then and she almost does it in the same way Arnold tries to trick the other predator, where she's like taunting it, like, come on, come get me. Where Arnold in the first Predator was like, come on, you little baby, fight me to get him into the trap. And then the Predator is like, this is a trap, and Arnold's like, no, fight me.
Well, like, I guess the difference between that's a trap and this one is like, it's literally just landscape.
This is her element. She's gone through here. She understands it. No one knows it better than her at this point, and she uses that to her advantage. But yeah, so then Predator falls into the mud, and you had the long sequence in the beginning where she could barely keep herself above the mud, and Predator just stands up. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, he's all muscle. Oh my God.
Yeah. It reminded me of like reverse Terminator 2. Just like he stands up and it's just like, because like it gives the pause, which is like, wait, that worked? And then it's just like, it's just like, it's like, oh no.
And then she does the thing, she starts to taunt, she's like, come on, just, you can't get out of the mud, just shoot me, come on, you want to shoot me.
Yeah.
And then you have the my favorite use of the alien technology against itself. Where he's, clearly disoriented. He's just like, I'm just going to shoot this arrow in a straight line. And then he sees the dots on himself and he's like, oh.
This Predator felt like it had more of a personality. And you didn't understand what it was saying, which is the best.
It didn't say a single thing. It didn't do a single thing.
It did clickies, but that was it.
And it didn't even, the other thing I realized is he didn't even use all his tech. He didn't copy voices.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if that wasn't even around
in that lore. Yeah, but yes, so she wins. She comes home painted in the alien blood, which is so cool, and then she throws the head on the ground, and they're like, new war chief.
Yeah, well, like that. Okay, they were
all bewildered. They were like, she's alive and she killed it.
Well, there's a few things there. Like, one, I was like, ew, that's gross. How much of that alien blood you got on you? Like, okay, I understand the cinematic value, but if it felt like you were days away and you walked back. But then I like how it's like everyone's just like, oh my goodness, you're back. And then it's like, wait, what do we do? As she's like, it's shot for shot as her brother comes back with the mountain lion head, and it's like, oh wait, we know what that is. We know what to do here, man. Woo! And then it's just like, wait, girl came back with and what the heck is that? And then there's like grandma's just like, do the thing, and she's like, oh, okay. And
then she instead of celebrating in it, her brother was like, yeah, we did it, she's like, we need to move somewhere safer.
Yeah.
Like, she's just like, I'm not playing any games. I love you all. We're not dying to this thing again. And then
credits.
The dog makes it to the end of the movie.
Yes, the dog makes it.
And the dog did help fight the Predator a bit. Mostly I think the dog mainly kept bringing her stuff, right? To help her in the fight.
I think so. And I think it was also like distraction as well.
Yeah, I was so scared because the Predator had fought the wolf. And I was like, he knows how to fight the dog. Oh, no.
Well, it's one of those things. I wonder if the Predator even thought the dog was a threat at that point, because like she is messing his day up.
And he's a lot smaller. Yeah, like she even jumps to the like small of his back and then hits him with an axe, uses her axe. Dog brings back axe. Like there's a whole... It's such a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah. And and then there's like, they got a little bit of the credit scene of like, reminded me of Up, as they showed the little cave drawings of Up. But this one, they show the cave drawings of the tribe, and then like pretty much in there.
Worst thing about the ending of the movie, the only thing he complained to me about is she throws the pistol into the elder's hands, and the pistol is the same pistol from Predator 2, making it canon.
Yes. The fact that P2 keeps coming back. Like, it's one of those things, I think it's like continuity wise, I think it's cool. But the
it's a
fact
nice detail, but I hate it.
Yes, it's a nice detail that I wish never existed. But
yeah. In all the enjoyment of the movie, we have been talking about it for about the length of the movie now, so I feel like we should start wrapping this up.
It's a good movie, guys.
It's a good movie. Watch it. But I will be fair. There are criticisms with every movie. I felt like some of the CGI looked a bit off. I specifically like the wolf is a little weird.
Yeah.
The bear is a little weird. And then
the buffalo look a little weird. Like besides the fact it's just bones, it's still
And then the predator himself at sometimes looks a little weird. And then I saw there's a video of the practical effects of the suit. And the suit itself looks so much cooler than the little CGI they did back in the French Canadian camp. I'll have to see if I can send you that clip.
But it's like I remember reading a Twitter thing where it's like practical effects are amazing. There are a lot of practical stuff in there that I think it just gets highlighted with kind of like the CG. I think probably the CGI blood, like the predator blood, like is just given more of a glow.
Yeah, that CGI is good, but I just mean like if you play this video I sent you that I saw on Twitter, it's just like that costume just looks so cool. But then they did CGI on top of the costume, which kind of I think detracts from like even the mandibles move in a really cool way in the practical effect. It's very impressive.
Yes. It seems like there's a lot of return to practical effects,
which is nice
lately. Yeah, it's which it takes more work but I don't know. I think I like it.
Yep, the predators were so CGI that I was like, this doesn't even look like it's like a threat. It just looks awkward.
This has nothing to do with Predator. I just like it.
Okay, but adorable. And a little raccoon eating grapes. Their little hands are adorable. But anyway, so my grapes. So for you, what kind of criticisms did you have? Because you said you more were leaning towards an 8.
Yeah, it's like I don't think there's. I'm trying to remember now. Like I'm pretty sure if I watched it a second time, I would bring it out. But it's just like overall, it's an enjoyable movie. And like story wise and everything, it was good. I'm trying to remember because I know I just write down my like just memorable random things. Thoughts. Yeah, that just popped up. But now I'm like my brain is just right now.
That's okay. We have been talking about the movie for an hour and a half.
I'm trying to think if there's any specific thing. Like I don't know. I think specific things like would kind of be like I don't know, like there's a lot of there's just so much like I understand writing wise like why it's just like everyone's just looking down on her and everything. And I was just like, okay, like I understand why they're doing this and writing wise, and it's like it'd be nice if there was just one part where it's just like, okay, like we obviously don't like you, but let's just figure out what was happening. It's just I don't know. It's like one of those things I didn't understand like why it's just like, okay, I'm so mad we're gonna just fight each other right now. It's like which it's like it still led to a cool scene, but it's like
oh, I remember something I said I wanted to put a pin into it when she was fighting the fellow people from her tribe. She also has a 1 versus many fight in the French Canadian camp. I think she's fighting like 2 or 3 guys, and those guys didn't stand a chance. Like when she was wrestling with her tribe mate, they were like, okay, they're kind of toe to toe. She still kind of won out in the end, but against the French Canadians, she just like knocked him out in 2 hits and then stabbed the other guy and was just like, and like the only time she was overcome was when the third guy was like, I tackle you. And she's like, where'd you come from?
I think the reason why I gave it like an 8 and everything is because like for a 10 for me, it's a movie that I could watch multiple times and be like, yes, this is amazing. Let's keep going. And there's more like a good example would be Memento or Danny Darko, where it's like the more times you watch that, the more you find things that connect together. And it's more of a puzzle watching it. Well, this it's like, okay, I watched it and now I know everything, and it's like I think I would watch it again with a group of friends. Or anything.
You could probably do one more watch and notice some little hints, but after that,
But it's just like I know I watched Donnie Darko like at least 3 to 4 times now, And it's just like every time I watch it, it's just like, oh my goodness, there's this random little thing that is
connected in
connecting,
the brain. Yeah.
and which that's a buck wild movie. Memento is another thing where it's just that movie is just a mind trip. But like that, I think what it comes down is like the movie, there's nothing that overall that I would find terrible or all that, but when it comes down to rewatchability, it's like when I watched the first Transformers, I thought it was really good. I think I was also at the age that it was going to be good. Like
action, Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Woo.
But then the second time I watched it, I remember the second time I watched it in theaters, because the first time I watched it, I was like, oh wow, that was really good. I liked it. And then I watched it like a week later with different friends, and they're all like, oh my goodness, it's so cool. And I was just like, I am so bored.
Transformers is the perfect example for a movie that should only be released in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the amount of action is really cool with the combination of sound effects and stuff. Like there is a talent to that, but like watching it at home where you don't have the sound system and you don't have the giant screen, you're kind of just like,
yeah,
wow, nothing's happening.
And so it's, I don't know, I like action movies, but I like watching them by myself like once every, like, I don't know, couple of years. Or I could watch, if the group of the people I'm staying at the house with want to watch Prey while we're down in Texas, I'll watch it again.
Yeah, I think the thing that's nice about Prey is it's not just an action film, I think is what it is. They did bring in the mystery again. They did bring in the thrill again. It does feel tense at different points. And I think that it does better. Like we complained about The Predator, where the pacing was they only had their foot on the gas and that's all that was happening. And this one, they do the better formula of like, gas, okay, we're gonna slow it down, and then gas again, and then all right, we're gonna slow it down and let you figure out what's happening, and then gas.
Yeah, like everything that I complained about the Predator in our last episode is pretty much what they do in this movie, where it's just slow it down, build it up, and everything. The only thing I know that like people want to see more Predator movies done in this style, but it's like the thing is you can't. Like, yeah, you can't
once
keep
you
doing the same thing.
When you set up the first one in the series, then you have to be a lot more creative of how to like build up on it.
Which I think is what really hurts the later Predators. Like, that's not the main issue with 2 and everything, but it's just like I can also understand where in the 80s in the movies where they wanted the ultra violent stuff, and that's what you got with Predator 2, where it's just like there was no breathing. And so like part of me just wonders is like if they do like that samurai one, it's like you could make that a samurai, like make it feel like a samurai film all the way up to the last third of the movie, when it's just like, no, you can make it feel like shinobis or just like assassins or something that keeps coming to this like training place at this monastery, whatever they said in the TikTok. You can make it feel like, oh man, we're being attacked by something out there and we don't know what it is. And then the second half, like even like that's when like we get a Predator reveal. So it's just,
yeah, because like Prey was set up in that way where a lot of the beginning of the movie felt like a coming of age story. And then it wasn't until the reveal, then it goes from the coming of age story to, oh, it's a Predator movie.
Yeah, but it still gave hints like of like, even though you don't see the Predator fully
outright. Yeah.
So like, yeah, the only question is like okay, like it's one of those things that as the armor changed, and if the armor felt very tribal looking, like where it was like kind of skulls and everything just way more exposed and not a lot of tech, it's like, all right, well, how did they go from like kind of what looks like a skull of another creature to
super future tech?
Yeah, so like I think that would be an interesting, like, just I don't know, just building up that stuff, which I guess it would make sense where it's as because in this movie they had bows and arrows, but it was stone. And so arrowheads and stone, and then like the guns really weren't all that effective. They had the shield, But like if they do go to Japan, it would be interesting because in Japan they had real like their archers at that point were really, really good. Like to the equivalent of like snipers today.
Yeah. And then just a general, like, even though like we don't think of it necessarily in the same terms of like when you think of ultra technology, you think of like sci-fi, but the growth in combat grew a lot in like 100 years or so with the discovery of like how to work with metals, how to actually use metals, because some of those metals that they use are actually really flimsy unless worked with in like a certain way.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the resources or technology until further into like the 1800s.
I think what would be an interesting one is a boat going from England to America. And I don't know, my first thing was like do a retelling of the Titanic pretty much, but like people but
not icebergs, Predator.
Yeah, not the ice. Well, like no, the iceberg can still happen in there, but it's like
which way are they going?
But like one of the things I think would be interesting is like one of these huge passenger ships going back and forth, and it's just like murders are happening on the ship, and they're trying to figure it out, and it's just like it feels like, oh man, this is it, and then it's like, wait a second, and it's a predator the whole time.
That would make it interesting.
I'm like, that would be fun.
That would make it, I think, more of a pure horror film because you're trapped.
Yes. This is how I want one of the Batman movies to be, actually. I want Batman to be a horror perspective from a criminal. I think it'd be a really cool movie where it's told from the perspective of like a street thug. There's actually a comic that's like that, where it's like one of the lackeys of the Joker, and it shows the Joker being super freaked out that the Batman is chasing them down, and the like hooligan's just like, who becomes friends with Joker, he's like, dude, what's the problem? We're invincible. And then Batman just shows up and beats the crap out of him. And he's just like, beautiful. He's like, I understand. I'm so sorry. But it's like, it's a whole like mini book. I don't remember what it's called, but it's it was fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're getting pretty close to that 2-hour mark, and it's been a long time since we've had an episode this long.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Is there anything else you want to squeeze in before we try and wrap this up before your rendering time takes a decade?
Yeah, it's already going to take a while, but no, I think yeah, you guys definitely give it a watch. It's worth it. If you have Hulu, it's on there. I don't think they're playing because it's a Hulu original, and I hope it does well. I should probably go give it a star rating. I'm thinking about it on Hulu, so that way
one of the few ratings I'll give so that the movie doesn't disappear on us.
I'm like, it doesn't disappear, and that they give that writing team and director more chances. It's like, oh man, now I want to like, is there a way I can go and like give that idea of like the boat mystery thing? Because I'm like, oh man, that sounds so cool.
Write an email to the director. How about?
Yes. Because I think it's just because of the book I'm reading as well. But yeah, we should give, just before we end completely, we should give a little bit a little bit of a peek. So originally Prey wasn't out when we were planning Predator, the Predator series, but we were like, how can we fit this in but keep with the whole series that we're going? And I know that we mentioned it earlier this episode, but we are doing Alien versus Predator next, which I think it's a pretty clear sign of what we're doing now. we are going through, because the Predator is connected to Alien, and now after this we are going into the Alien series to go into Halloween. So, and we're doing deep dives, and so yeah, and the whole reason to start it off because Alien won the our bracket for best horror movie of what we put down. I know The Cell should have been up there, but yeah, no one thought I was going to bring that up again.
Recurring theme.
Man, we should watch sequels that shouldn't have been made, and The Cell 2 should be there. Problem is, I think we would have to buy it because I don't know if it's streaming anywhere.
And then we would have to rewatch Predator 2.
No, we don't.
We'll remember what happened in it.
Well, no, we'll just ones that we haven't watched.
Okay.
But yeah, we're doing AVP, Alien versus Predator. But the thing is, because Prey came out, we are actually doing Alien versus Predator 1 and 2 together because they pretty much timeline wise happen back to back. And well, just with our recording schedule, with kind of how next week for us and recording this right now is going to be, we'll be able to watch both movies. So that way it won't mess up the timeline. And also what is going to happen is after we finish this movie, after we finish watching all the Predator and Alien movies that are currently out, we are going to, for on the 31st, which is the Monday,
Halloween.
our Halloween release day, we are going to do a ranking list of all the Alien and Predator movies that we've been talking about. The big thing, though, is we both have to agree where they go. So, fortunately, we are very much on the same page
for all the movies so far.
We'll see if that goes. It's to be fair, I don't think we thought that Predator movie was going to make it super high on that list, but
until now,
thanks, Hulu.
We'll see.
Things I thought I never say.
Yeah, because at first we were like, Alien's going to be the best movie in all of this franchise, and we're like, right. But yeah. We appreciate you for if you made it this far. This is a very long episode, so
it's a really good movie.
It's a really good movie. I just mean, thanks if you stuck around and listened this far. We really appreciate it. We would also watched on YouTube or Spotify, or would also appreciate if you rate, not abbreviate. Appreciate if you rate us on whatever platforms you prefer, or leave us reviews. Interact with us at twitter.com/pointlessdisco. Leave comments on YouTube. We like to try and read anything and everything, so that we can interact. So that we can interact with you and all of that. And yeah, let us know what you thought of Prey.
Do it. Bye.